I sit at my kitchen table, fingers trembling as I punch in the familiar number. The afternoon sunlight spills through the windows, casting long golden fingers across the worn oak surface. Outside, maple trees stand like patient sentinels, their branches already brushed with autumn's first blush. Dorian squeezes my shoulder, his calloused hand warm against my cotton blouse. His eyes catch mine steady, certain the complete opposite of the storm churning inside me. "You don't have to do this now," he whispers. But I do. The wedding is 8 weeks away. The invitations sit in a neat stack beside me, addresses carefully printed in my librarian's handwriting. 28 names. 28 people who matter. Including my mother. I press the phone to my ear, counting the rings. 1, 2, 3. "Hello, darling." My mother's voice flows through the line, cultured and controlled, like everything else about Marla Mathis. "Hi, Mom." I inhale deeply, watching as a maple leaf detaches from its branch, spinning lazily toward the ground. "I'm calling about the wedding." "Oh?" Interest sparks in her tone. After years of pointed comments about my perpetual singleness, my engagement announcement 6 months ago had been met with her remarkable observation, "At least someone will marry you." I clear my throat. "We finalized our plans, the 12th of October, here at the farmhouse. We're keeping it small, 28 guests. The ceremony will be in the backyard under the maple trees." The silence stretches so long I wonder if the connection has dropped. "Mom? A backyard?" She says the word like it's contaminated. "Alora, that's not a wedding, that's a picnic for broke people." My chest tightens. "We have a budget of $4,700. It's what we can afford, and it's what we want." "What you can afford," she repeats my words slowly. "Your father and I could help, you know. Corinne's wedding at the Fairmont cost $60,000, and it was worth every penny. People still talk about it." "Of course they do. My sister's proper Boston hotel wedding 3 years ago, where I was assigned to help the catering staff rather than stand with family." "We don't want a big production," I say, gripping the edge of the table. "We want something authentic. Something that feels like us." Another pause. "And what exactly does that mean? Mismatched chairs and paper plates?" I glance at Dorian, who's begun sketching something on a scrap of paper ceramic plates, I realize, with initials carefully glazed onto each one. "It means handmade touches, things with meaning." My voice strengthens. "We're writing our own vows. Claire is helping with decorations. We're stringing lights through the maples." "Lights in trees." Her voice drops 10 degrees. "Alora, this is exactly why I worried when you moved to that little town. You've lost all sense of propriety." The word stings more than it should. Propriety, the guiding star of my childhood. "I'm sorry you feel that way," I manage. "Well," she sniffs, "I suppose you've made up your mind." "We have." "Then I don't know what you expect me to say. A backyard wedding isn't something we can attend." The words hit like a physical blow. "You won't come?" "Don't be dramatic, Alora. We have standards, and if you choose to ignore them, that's your decision." The line goes dead before I can respond. I place the phone down carefully, as if it might shatter. Or maybe I'm the one about to break. The maple trees outside blur through a film of tears. "She's not coming," I whisper. "Not because she's sick or busy, because it's not fancy enough." Dorian kneels beside me, taking my hands in his. "Elle, I'm so sorry." "All these years," I say, my voice catching. "Always trying to be good enough, always falling short of Corinne, and now this." A tear slides down my cheek, landing on our guest list. It spreads, blurring my mother's carefully printed name. "This is our wedding," Dorian says quietly. "Not hers." I look up at him, at the man who proposed under these very maple trees, who spends evenings throwing clay on his potter's wheel, who reads poetry aloud while I cook dinner, who never once asked me to be anything but exactly who I am. "You're right," I wipe my eyes. "It's our wedding." He reaches into his pocket, pulling out a folded piece of paper. "I've been working on my vows," he admits, a flush creeping up his neck. Something shifts inside me. A door closing, yes, but perhaps a window opening too. I reach for the phone again, this time dialing Claire's number. "Hey," I say when she answers. "I need your help with something." "Tell me what you need," she responds without hesitation. I glance at the framed photo of my mother on the bookshelf, her perpetually disapproving expression watching me. With deliberate movements, I walk over and place it face down. Everything, I say, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. We're doing this our way. Next day, the attic smells like cedar and forgotten promises. Sunlight slices through the single round window, illuminating dust motes that dance around me as I pull down the cardboard box marked Corinne's wedding. I hadn't meant to find it, was just searching for extra mason jars for our lanterns, but there it sits. Pristine white with gold lettering, as meticulously labeled as everything else in my mother's world. I hesitate, fingers hovering over the lid. 3 years since that weekend at the Fairmont. 3 years since I stood in that ballroom wearing the black dress my mother selected, carrying trays of champagne flutes because it would be helpful. Found anything useful up there? Dorian calls from below. Just looking through some things, I answer, already lifting the lid. Inside, the wedding album rests on top, bound in white leather with Corinne and Bradley's names embossed in gold. I open it slowly, as if it might bite. The first page shows the bride and groom beneath crystal chandeliers, surrounded by white roses and candlelight. Corinne looks flawless in her designer gown, my father beaming beside her. I turn pages methodically. Family portraits, table arrangements, the 8-tier cake that cost more than my car. Page after page of smiling Mathises. Not one photo contains my face. I close the album, set it aside. Beneath it lie loose photographs extras that didn't make the final cut. I rifle through them until I spot myself in the background of one, balancing a tray of champagne flutes while Corinne tosses her bouquet. My smile looks plastic, eyes vacant. Something flutters from between the photos, a small note card in my mother's elegant handwriting. I unfold it carefully. Stay useful, not visible. 4 words, addressed to me, the morning of the wedding. My chest tightens until breathing becomes a conscious effort. I'd always known my place in the family hierarchy, but seeing it spelled out so plainly makes my stomach twist. Elle? Dorian's footsteps creak up the attic stairs. You okay up here? I want to hide the evidence, to protect him from this ugliness, but my hands won't move. He crosses the dusty floorboards, kneels beside me, reads the note over my shoulder. Jesus, he whispers. Pretty clear instructions, right? My laugh sounds hollow. Guess I followed them perfectly. He takes the note, studies it. Your mother wrote this? To you? I nod. Corinne's wedding. The $60,000 extravaganza. I pick up the photo where I lurk in the background. I'm right there, doing exactly what I was told. Useful, invisible. Dorian's jaw tightens. He places a warm hand on my back, traces small circles between my shoulder blades. I used to think if I just tried harder she would. My voice breaks. But it was never about what I did, it was about who I am. My phone buzzes from my pocket. I pull it out, read the text from Corinne. Mom says you're still doing that backyard thing? I turn the screen toward Dorian. He reads it, sighs. They're talking about us, I say. About our sad little wedding. Elle. Maybe she's right. The words tumble out before I can stop them. Maybe it will look cheap. Maybe people will be embarrassed for us. Stop, Dorian takes my hands. This isn't about them. But doubt has already burrowed deep. I see our makeshift plans through my mother's eyes, mismatched chairs, homemade decorations, ceramic plates instead of fine china, the family grapevine buzzing with pity. The front door slams downstairs, followed by Claire's voice. Hello? Anyone home? I brought fabric samples. Up here, Dorian calls, never taking his eyes from mine. Claire appears at the top of the stairs, arms laden with books and swatches. She stops when she sees my face. What happened? She drops everything, rushes to my side. I wordlessly hand her the note. Watch her read it. See the flash of anger in her eyes. That woman, she says, voice tight. She wraps an arm around my shoulders. Honey, this is exactly why your wedding should be everything she isn't: warm, authentic, beautiful in ways she can't understand. But what if? Thomas called this morning, she interrupts. He wants to photograph your wedding, as his gift to you. I blink. Thomas Keller? The one who shoots for Vermont Life? She nods. Says your maple trees deserve to be immortalized. We can't afford. Gift, she repeats firmly. No arguments. Dorian squeezes my hand. This will be more beautiful than anything they could imagine, Elle, because it's real. My phone buzzes again. Another text from Corinne. Mom's right, no one wants to see a wedding in someone's yard. I set the phone face down on the floor. Emma called too, Claire continues, picking up her scattered fabric samples. She wants to film the ceremony, says it's exactly the kind of authentic celebration she loves documenting. A lump forms in my throat. Why is everyone being so kind? Because you matter to them, Dorian says simply. You matter to us. Later that night, after Claire leaves with plans to return tomorrow, I find Dorian at the kitchen table surrounded by budget spreadsheets. Red marks / through items we've cut, numbers recalculated again and again. What if we just eloped? I ask, voice small in the quiet kitchen. Just us. Somewhere simple. No fuss. No disappointment. He looks up, eyes tired but determined. Is that what you want? Truly? I think about our maple trees, about Thomas's photographs and Emma's camera, about Claire's determination to help create something beautiful. I think about the people who said yes without hesitation. No, I admit, but I'm scared. Of what? That she's right. I gesture to the spreadsheets. That this is pathetic, that we're fooling ourselves. Dorian stands, crosses to me, frames my face in his hands. Listen to me. The only pathetic thing would be letting someone else define what our day should be. I lean into his touch, close my eyes. We're getting married under those maple trees, he says, and it's going to be perfect, not because it's expensive, but because it's ours. The certainty in his voice steadies me, even as my mother's note burns in my memory. Stay useful, not visible. But maybe, just maybe, it's time to be seen. A week later, the ivory invitation lies on my kitchen table like a wounded bird. Across the pristine response card, Mother's handwriting slashes in blue ink. We have standards. Not even the courtesy of checking the regretfully decline box. Just those 3 words, sharp as broken glass. Dorian finds me staring at it, my fingertips tracing the jagged letters. You okay? He asks, setting down his coffee mug. I fold the card carefully, tucking it back into its envelope. Fine. But I'm not fine. The words burrow under my skin, take root there. We have standards. As if love requires chandeliers and champagne fountains to be legitimate. My phone buzzes with Corinne's name on the screen. I consider letting it go to voicemail, but old habits die hard. Hi, Corinne. L. Her voice carries that familiar note of concern tinged with judgment. Mom told me about your plans. I press my lips together, waiting. Look, I know you and Dorian are watching pennies, but William and I could help with a real venue if you're struggling. Nothing extravagant, just somewhere proper. The word strikes like a match. Proper. The Mathis family battle cry. We're not struggling, I say, watching a chickadee land on the bird feeder outside. This is what we want. Mom says you're making lanterns from old pickle jars. She doesn't try to hide her horror. Mason jars. And yes, we've made 83 so far. Oh, Alora. The same tone Mother uses, perfectly mimicked. People will talk. Let them. After we hang up, I learn they already are talking. Emma, who cuts hair at the salon where Mother gets her monthly color touch-up, calls to warn me. Your mom was telling everyone you couldn't manage a proper wedding, she reports. Said something about how some girls just don't understand presentation is everything. I thank her for the warning, hang up, and promptly throw my phone across the room. It bounces harmlessly off the sofa cushions. Dorian doesn't say a word, just retrieves it and places it on the counter, then wraps his arms around me from behind. His potter's hands leave traces of clay on my cotton shirt. I don't care. I finished the R plates last night, he murmurs into my hair. Starting on the SZ batch tonight. Each guest will receive a handmade ceramic plate with their initial glazed in forest green. Dorian has been working on them for weeks, his hands cracked and dry from the clay. You should rest, I tell him. I'll rest after the wedding. He kisses my temple. How many more lanterns do we need? 17. Claire's coming over to help. Claire arrives an hour later with 3 boxes of mason jars rescued from her grandmother's basement. We work at the kitchen table, wrapping copper wire around the rims, attaching delicate handles. Did you hear from your mother? She asks, not looking up from her work. Got the invitation back, with a note. Bad? You could say that. Claire's hands still. Want me to egg her Lexus? I know where she gets her hair done. For the first time that day, I laugh. Tempting. We've finished 5 more lanterns when Thomas knocks on the back door. Our 70-year-old neighbor stands on the porch holding a wooden ladder and coils of tiny white lights. Thought we might start on those trees, he says, nodding toward the maples. Weather's holding good this week. Before I can answer, 2 more trucks pull into our gravel driveway. Bill from the hardware store and his teenage sons pile out, carrying more ladders and extension cords. Thomas said you needed some tall fellows for tree duty, Bill calls, waving. I look at Claire, who shrugs innocently. I may have mentioned something at the diner yesterday. For the next 3 hours, our backyard transforms. Lights weave through branches like stars caught in a net. The boys scramble up and down ladders while Thomas directs traffic from below. Claire and I hang finished lanterns from the lower branches. Inside, Dorian shapes wet clay on his wheel, forming the last batch of plates. His forearms are flecked with dried clay, his eyes focused and tired. My phone pings with a text from Corinne. A photo appears mother's living room wall where family photos hang in perfect symmetry. The space where my childhood portrait once hung now shows only wallpaper, slightly brighter than the surrounding area. No message, none needed. Claire finds me staring at the phone, my hands trembling. What happened? I show her the picture. She took down my photo. Claire's face hardens. That's cruel. That's mother. Elle. We're interrupted by the sound of tires on gravel. Through the kitchen window, I watch a silver Lexus pull up. My stomach drops. She's here, I whisper. Marla Mathis emerges from her car like a general inspecting enemy territory. Cashmere sweater, pearl earrings, leather driving gloves. She surveys the yard, the men on ladders, the lights, the mason jar lanterns with narrowed eyes. I step onto the porch, arms crossed over my chest. Mother, this is unexpected. Clearly. Her gaze shifts to the ceramic plates drying on a table near the shed. I needed to see for myself. See what? This situation. She gestures vaguely at our preparations. Oh, Alora, this is exactly what I feared. The familiar weight of her disappointment settles on my shoulders. For a moment, I'm 12 again, showing her my poetry award while she frowns at the morbid theme. But then I look past her to what she's dismissing. Thomas carefully wrapping lights around a branch. Bill's sons laughing as they untangle cords. Claire watching protectively from the kitchen window. Dorian, through the studio window, hands covered in clay as he creates something beautiful for people he loves. I straighten my spine. This wedding isn't about impressing people, I say, my voice steady. It's about loving them. Mother's mouth tightens. People will judge, Alora. They always do. Not the people who matter. She turns back toward her car, pausing with her hand on the door. Don't expect us to pretend this is normal when people ask. After she leaves, I stand frozen on the porch until Claire brings me a mug of tea. You okay? No, I admit. But I will be. That evening, friends arrive with casserole dishes and slow cookers testing reception recipes, they say. Emma brings her camera, taking test shots as the lanterns begin to glow in the dusk. I turned down my cousin's wedding to be here for yours, Claire confesses as we hang the last lantern. She was furious, but this matters more. Later, I find Dorian asleep at his wheel at 3 a.m., the final plate drying beside him. Z for Zachary, our librarian colleague who reads to the children every Thursday. I cover Dorian with a blanket, touch the plate's smooth rim. His hands made this. Our friends hung those lights. Claire twisted wire for lanterns until her fingers bled. Outside, Emma adjusts her tripod in the moonlight. What are you doing? I ask through the screen door. Testing night angles, she says, not looking up from her viewfinder. I'll capture the beauty others refuse to see. In the silver darkness, our maple trees stand dressed in tiny stars, patient as they've always been. Under their branches, something authentic takes shape, not perfect, not conventional, but honest in ways Mother will never understand. I reach for a lantern, its glass cool against my palm. Inside, the tea light flickers, sending shadows dancing across my skin. Maybe we don't need crystal chandeliers after all. On the wedding day, morning arrives in a whisper of gold. I stand at my bedroom window, watching October sunlight filter through maple leaves that have transformed overnight into a canopy of amber and crimson. 8 weeks of planning, doubting, and stubbornly creating culminate today. You ready? Claire appears in the doorway holding my linen dress. Not white cream with subtle gold threading that catches the light when I move. And pockets. The dress has pockets. I think I am. My voice sounds steadier than I expected. Through the window, I watch our friends arranging the last of the mismatched vintage chairs on the lawn. Thomas adjusts his camera settings while Emma tests angles for her video. Neighbors string the final lanterns through trees that have witnessed every season of my life with Dorian. Each glass jar catches sunlight, promising to glow like captured stars after sunset. My phone buzzes. A text from Corinne. Hope your backyard thing works out. Mom's telling everyone you eloped. I place the phone face down on my dresser and step into my dress. No shoes? Claire asks, noticing my bare feet. I wiggle my toes against the worn floorboards. The maple leaves will be my carpet. Downstairs, Dorian has disappeared tradition he insisted on, though nothing else about this day follows convention. Through the kitchen window, I glimpse the tables set with his handmade plates, each glazed with a guest's initials. 80 hours of work for 28 place settings. Thomas knocks softly. 5 minutes, Alora. I nod, suddenly unable to speak. Claire squeezes my hands, then slips outside to take her place. I stand alone in the kitchen where, 2 months ago, I weathered my mother's rejection. The space feels different now, lighter somehow. The first notes of music drift through the open window, not the traditional wedding march but a simple guitar melody played by Dorian's cousin. My cue. I step onto the back porch. The world narrows to a path of scattered maple leaves leading to the oldest tree in our yard where Dorian waits. The faces turning toward me belong to people who said yes. Who showed up? Who helped string lanterns and arrange flowers and bake pies for our dessert table? With each step across the cool grass, something settles inside me. The weight of seeking approval falls away like autumn leaves. Dorian's eyes find mine. His smile breaks open something in my chest. The ceremony unfolds in moments that feel both fleeting and eternal. Dorian's voice breaks as he says, "You make me feel like I came home." The hand-fasting ribbon, embroidered by Claire with our initials and the date, wraps around our joined hands. Simple gold bands exchange ownership beneath branches that have already witnessed our story unfold. After, we eat at long tables pushed together. Platters pass from hand to hand, hearty stews in enamel pots, fresh bread still warm from neighbors' ovens, vegetables from gardens down the road. Laughter ripples across our gathering. No assigned seating, no formal speeches, just genuine connection. As twilight softens the edges of our world, the lanterns glow to life. Emma moves among us with her camera, capturing moments I'm too overwhelmed to fully absorb. Thomas spinning Claire beneath a canopy of lights. Dorian's father raising a toast with tears in his eyes. Our librarian friends dancing barefoot on grass still warm from afternoon sun. Later, much later, when most guests have gone and just our closest circle remains, Emma shows me a clip on her camera screen. I'm putting together something simple, she says. Just 75 seconds. The video plays golden light filtering through leaves, Dorian's face as I walk toward him, the laughter erupting when our elderly neighbor tossed handfuls of maple seeds instead of rice. The entire day distilled to its essence. What will you call it, I ask. Emma shrugs. The 12th of October. Backyard. Hours. I nod. No further explanation needed. 2 days later, while Dorian and I drink coffee on our porch, my phone buzzes with a notification. Emma has posted the video. I click the link without expectation, without agenda, just to revisit our day. The number beneath the video reads 3,782 views. By evening, it's 12,400. I wake the next morning to 30,000 views and comments flooding in faster than I can read them. This is what a wedding should be, not show. I cried watching this. So much more meaningful than the $50K production my daughter wanted. The maple trees, the lanterns, the homemade everything. This is stunning. My phone rings an unknown number. Is this Alora Mathis? A woman asks. From the Maple Tree wedding video? Yes. I'm calling from Genuine Life magazine. We'd like to feature your wedding in our intentional living section. The authenticity is exactly what our readers are looking for. I sink onto the porch steps, watching another maple leaf spiral toward the ground. Alora? Dorian appears in the doorway, coffee mug in hand. Everything okay? I show him my screen where notifications continue to appear. Our wedding's gone viral. His eyebrows lift. Viral? Like a disease? I laugh, the sound bubbling up from somewhere deep and unburdened. Like something contagious, something people want to catch. Another notification pops up, a wedding planning service requesting to share our intentional authenticity approach. The irony isn't lost on me. The wedding my mother deemed too humble for her attendance has now been viewed by strangers who find it beautiful. Exactly as it was. Exactly as we created it. A text from an unknown number appears. Just saw your wedding video. Is that really your backyard? It looks like something from a magazine. I recognize the area code. Boston. One of my mother's friends, perhaps. The maple trees stand silent witness as I tilt my face toward the morning sun and smile. My phone buzzes across the kitchen counter at 7:36 a.m., 3 days after our wedding video went viral. 30,000 views became 100,000 overnight. Now the count hovers near 500,000. Are you going to answer that? Dorian asks, sliding a mug of Earl Grey toward me. I flip my phone over. Corinne's name flashes on the screen, her first direct contact in months. Why didn't you tell us it would be that beautiful? The message sits like a stone in my stomach. No congratulations, no apology, just accusation wrapped in compliment paper. What does she want? Dorian doesn't mask the edge in his voice. His protectiveness has sharpened since the wedding. I slide the phone toward him. Apparently, I was supposed to advertise that our wedding wouldn't embarrass them. As if that would have changed anything. He wraps his fingers around his coffee mug. The ceramic bears his thumbprint in the glaze evidence of its creator. My phone buzzes again. This time, a voicemail notification. My mother. I press play, setting it on speaker between us. Alora. Her voice fills our kitchen, brittle and strained. I've had 3 calls this morning. People asking why we weren't at such a meaningful ceremony. You've made us look terrible. Call me back. Click. No goodbye. Dorian reaches across the table, his hand covering mine. You don't owe her a response. I know. But the old pull remains, that invisible thread yanking me toward their approval. 20 years of conditioning doesn't vanish in one autumn day. Throughout the morning, the messages pile up. Family friends, my mother's college roommate, even my father's secretary. By noon, an email arrives from my mother, subject line, proposal. Elora. Given the unexpected attention your event has received, I suggest we arrange to recreate some key photos with family present. We could use the same backdrop and lighting. I'm available next Saturday. Mother. I read it twice, then hand my phone to Emma, who arrived 20 minutes ago to show us the raw wedding footage. Holy shit, Emma whispers, eyes widening behind tortoiseshell glasses. She wants a do-over? Like your wedding was a school picture with a hair out of place? She doesn't want a do-over, I say, the realization settling over me like autumn frost. She wants to rewrite history. Emma sets down her laptop on our coffee table. What are you going to tell her? The truth. I take the phone back, typing my response with steady fingers. Mother. The wedding happened as it was meant to. There will be no recreations. Elora. I press send before I can second-guess myself. Emma watches me with quiet curiosity. You okay? No. I look at the wedding video paused on her laptop screen. Maple leaves falling around us as we say our vows. But I will be. Actually, I have an idea. I'm listening. She leans forward. I want you to set up a private screening. Here, in our living room. The full, unedited wedding video. Emma's eyebrows lift. For your mom? Yes. I turn to Dorian, who has moved to stand behind me. I won't ask for an apology. I just want her to see what she chose to miss. He squeezes my shoulder. Are you sure? No, I admit. But I need to do this anyway. 3 days later, Emma arranges chairs in our living room. Nothing fancy, just 4 mismatched seats facing the wall where she's hung a projection screen. The projector hums softly on the bookshelf. She'll be here in 10 minutes, I say, checking my watch for the 4th time. If she comes at all, Dorian murmurs. But at 2:10 p.m., exactly 10 minutes late Mother's silver Lexus pulls into our gravel driveway. She emerges wearing a dove gray suit and pearls, as if arriving for a business meeting. Her hair reflects white gold in the autumn sunlight. She dressed up to watch a video in our living room. I whisper to Dorian. Of course she did. He kisses my temple before retreating to his pottery studio. This is my battle, but knowing he's nearby gives me strength. My mother enters without waiting for an invitation, her gaze sweeping our modest living room. Hello, Alora. Mom. I gesture to the chairs. Thank you for coming. She sits primly, back straight, handbag perched on her lap. I assume this won't take long. Emma catches my eye, then dims the lights and presses play. The screen fills with autumn leaves, the sound of footsteps crunching through our yard. The camera captures guests arriving, the quiet buzz of conversation. The maple trees standing like sentinels against the October sky. My mother's posture remains rigid for the first 10 minutes. But when the ceremony begins, something shifts. Her hands clasp and unclasp in her lap. The camera pans across faces, friends weeping, smiling, present in every sense of the word. Then Dorian's voice, clear despite the breeze rustling through maple leaves. Alora, you make me feel like I came home. A small sound escapes my mother's throat. When the lanterns glow golden as daylight fades, I notice her leaning forward slightly. The dancing begins. Bare feet on worn wooden boards laid across our lawn, laughter swelling like music. The video ends with Dorian and me silhouetted against the trees, his forehead pressed to mine. Emma slips out silently as the screen goes dark. It looked expensive, my mother whispers finally. It wasn't. I turn to face her directly. You never cared to find out. She stands, smoothing invisible wrinkles from her suit. I didn't know it would be beautiful. That's the point, I say quietly. You decided what it would be without seeing it first. She walks to the door, pausing with her hand on the knob. For a moment, I think she might turn back, might offer something more. But she doesn't. The door closes behind her with a soft click. I sit alone in the dim room, surrounded by the ghosts of our wedding day, feeling something between grief and freedom. And I understand finally that some doors close so others can open. I breathe in the spring air as Dorian hangs the last strand of white lights across our porch railing. 5 months have passed since our wedding day. 5 months of silence from my family. Perfect, I say. Our first spring season as husband and wife unfolds without the familiar tension of family obligations. The absence aches less than I expected. Dorian steps back, surveying his work. The Carlsons should be here around 7. Claire's bringing that mulled wine you like. I nod, smiling at the thought of our small gathering tonight. Not the traditional family gathering I once craved, but something truer. People who showed up when it mattered most. Inside, our wedding photos line the hallway, moments captured by Thomas's careful eye, Dorian spinning me under maple branches, Claire laughing as she catches my bouquet. 28 faces glowing in lantern light. Have you seen the letter? Dorian asks, shaking snow from his boots. I hand him the crisp envelope that arrived yesterday. Emma's documentary about our wedding, Authenticity, a Wedding Story, has been selected for the Green Mountain Film Festival. A small triumph, but sweet. She captured something real, Dorian says, hanging his coat. Something people respond to. I run my fingers over the ceramic plate he made me for the last Christmas, my initials glazed in deep forest green. Mom would hate that our wedding is becoming known as some statement piece. Does that bother you? I consider this. No, not anymore. The kitchen timer chimes. As I pull ginger snaps from the oven, I realize I haven't checked my phone for messages from my mother in weeks. The compulsion to seek her approval has quietly slipped away, like ice melting from branches in spring. Later, as Claire helps me arrange pine boughs on the mantel, she studies my face. You stand taller now, she observes. Dorian said the same thing last week. I pause, caught off guard by the simple truth of it. The constant hunch of anticipating criticism has straightened from my spine. I guess I do. The afternoon light fades early, turning our windows into mirrors. I catch my reflection, cheeks flushed from the kitchen heat, hair pulled back simply. I look ordinary, content, free. The package arrives as dusk settles, left on our porch without a knock. No return address. Just my name and handwriting I recognize immediately. I open it alone in our bedroom, fingers trembling slightly. Inside lies a single photography I've never seen before from Corinne's wedding 3 years ago. There I am in the background, balancing a tray of champagne flutes, watching from the periphery while my family poses for the photographer. I turn it over. On the back, in my sister's precise handwriting, I looked right past you that day, I see you now. No apology, no request to reconnect, just this admission, bare and unadorned. I sit with it a long time, the weight of it in my hands. Then I walk to our bookshelf and slide the photo into the back of our wedding album. Behind it, I place my favorite image from our day, Dorian and me dancing barefoot under the lanterns, maple leaves scattered around our feet. The doorbell rings. Voices fill our home. I close the album and return to the party, to the people who chose to see us from the beginning. On our first anniversary, I watch our wedding video alone. My reflection overlays the screen, a woman who has found her worth not in grand hotels or expensive linens, but in the courage to be fully seen. I turn off the television and walk outside to where Dorian hangs new lanterns for our anniversary dinner. The January sky stretches clear and limitless above us. "Ready?" he asks, extending his hand. I take it, no longer looking back. A wedding isn't made by fancy venues or who shows up, it's made by who stays. And sometimes, the deepest healing doesn't come from being forgiven. It comes from finally being seen.